coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
All I'm trying to share with you is you need to know what your safe options are. You need to know where you can get decent interest rates on your money. CDs, paying pretty much nothing these days. Floating rate options, they're paying a little bit better. Educate yourself, learn about these things. All that matters is, and what we're going to find out, all that matters is what does your beneficiary statement say? That rules everything with one exception, and you want to know the exception.
Now, the host of Retiring Well, Michael Reese.
Welcome to the show today. We have 30 minutes of action-packed information specifically designed for you. Retiring Well starts right here, right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Hi, this week in CFP Talk, we are looking at the difference between CDs and things called floating rate instruments. Now, the reason we're looking at this is, as you know, interest rates are really, really low. In a very low interest rate environment, things like CDs, traditional options for your safe money, they're just not paying what they used to pay. And that has a real negative effect on, how your money works for you. We want to make sure that every part of your portfolio is working as hard as possible for your retirement. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with CDs in today's environment. Now, as I'm recording this, I went on bankrate.com, and they told me that national average, or maybe even it's the best CDs out there, I'm not 100% certain with Bankrate sometimes, but generally speaking, they're saying a 5-year CD is paying right around 1.5% a year. Now, what does that really mean to you? What does that mean? Well, here's what it means. Let's imagine that you put $100,000 of your savings into a 5-year CD at 1.5%. What that means is every year they're going to pay you $1,500 of interest. So $1,500 is credited to your account. If we do some simple math and ignoring compounding over 5 years, it's not a major issue. But $1,500 a year, you get it for 5 years. They're essentially saying, you let us use your $100,000 for the next 5 years, and at the end of the 5 years, we'll give you back maybe $7,500. Now, for a lot of you, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, gosh darn it, it seems all right, but on $100,000 over 5 years, why would I tie my money up for that? I mean, it just doesn't seem to make sense. So how can we do better? What can you do to improve on these numbers? Well, I want to introduce you to something called floating rate instruments. These are normally issued by insurance companies. You could go to an insurance company, get a floating rate, they would call it an annuity, and for 5 years they would tell you, we will pay you not 1.5% a year, we'll pay you 2% a year. Well, that's not very exciting. It's not very, wow, that's super awesome or anything like that. But then they have a little twist. And what they do is, we'll pay you that 2% plus something called LIBOR. LIBOR. That is basically international lending rates. Now, what that means is this. If LIBOR today, as I'm recording this, is about 0.8%. So that means in the first year, these types of instruments, they would pay you 2 plus 0.8. They're going to pay you 2.8% in the first year. What do they do next year? They say, well, we're going to pay you the 2 again, plus whatever LIBOR is next year. So here's the thing. Let's imagine you think interest rates are going to rise. If interest rates rise, that guy rises. That number gets bigger, which means this number gets bigger each year over those 5 years. For the sake of illustration, let's imagine that on average, you get about 3 over the 5-year period. Let's imagine that. Well, on 100,000, the same 100,000, that leads to $3,000 every year. And over 5 years, that leads to $15,000 total. Now, are interest rate movements in the future guaranteed? Of course not. That number could go higher, it could go lower. Hey, are you going to get 2%? You know, it's 2% today when I'm recording this, but those numbers change. It might be higher or lower in the future. All I'm trying to share with you is you need to know what your safe options are. You need to know where you can get decent interest rates on your money. CDs, paying pretty much nothing these days. Floating rate options, they're paying a little bit better. Educate yourself, learn about these things. Folks, if you have any questions about this or anything else we talk about in the show, please feel free to give us a call. The number's right there on the screen.
Centennial Wealth Advisory, your independent retirement planning specialists, now in 3 convenient locations in northern Michigan. 818 Red Drive in Traverse City, 3890 Charlevoix Avenue in Petoskey, and 3687 Old 27th South in Gaylord. Contact us at 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com to schedule your no-obligation complete retirement review at any of our northern Michigan locations, Traverse City, Petoskey, or Gaylord. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come. Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility, how to plan your retirement, the best ways to generate lifetime income, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the difference between retirement advisors and Wall Street advisors, why getting a second opinion may be your most important financial decision, and much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, November 29th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, December 1st at Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There's no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 888-608-5825 today.
All right, this week in Ask Banks, we've got a really fun question. So I need to give you a little backstory on this one. So here's the deal. You may not be aware of this. It depends on if you have children or grandchildren that were into this. But, you know, I have 5 children, and they were big into Harry Potter when it was out. And you know what happened is just recently there was I don't know if you know this, but there's another Harry Potter book released. It was kind of a play that they did. J.K. Rowling, the author, was part of it. But, you know, of course, I had to go buy the book for the kids and read it to them and all that kind of stuff. Well, Banks, this was her first experience with Harry Potter. She was so excited. In fact, poor Banks, she had to watch all the movies. You know, we just had to watch all the movies from beginning to end again. We had to read books. Banks is, huge Harry Potter fan. So she, in fact, sometimes when she barks, she'll bark in an English accent because she thinks that's kind of cool, right? I know. It's really funny when you do that. But anyway, the reason I bring this backstory up is this. we actually had somebody write in and ask banks a question, and it had to do with, you remember Brexit? Remember how a couple months ago Great Britain voted to leave the European Union, and all the economists are saying, oh my gosh, this is horrible. It's horrible, and there's going to be a recession, and everything's just going to fall apart in Great Britain. That's what they all predicted, and they all said it was going to happen right away. So this viewer, Steve, he wrote in, he said, hey, I heard about all this stuff with Brexit. What's going on? Has the economy failed? How are they doing over there in the UK? How's everything going? Well, Banks, I said, she likes Harry Potter. She barks in an English accent now. So I thought maybe Banks, we could ask Banks how it's going. And here's the good news. And by the way, I brought Banks a little present here. She doesn't know it. This is going to be a surprise. But because this is a question about the UK and Brexit, well, I only thought it was appropriate that I bring Banks a copy. Basically, let's bring her the flag of, yeah, look at this. It's the Union Jack flag. And we'll give this to Banks, let her play around with that and wear it. So while she answers this question, she can be very English and proper, and we'll we'll answer that question. Here is the amazing thing. Everybody was talking about, all the economists, all the experts, Brexit, horrible for the Great Britain's economy. There's going to be a recession. It's going to be horrible. Doom and gloom will soon commence. Well, it turns out that, as usual, they were wrong. So far, the economy in Great Britain, up, doing better. Everything's actually doing a little better. They've had, quite frankly, zero effects with this Brexit vote. It's had no impact on them really at all. Now, that may change in the future, of course, one way or another. But here's the point that, this is the real important point in this whole thing. Remember this. When it comes to big events like this, Brexit, when you see the news media cover it left and right, don't get caught up in the hysteria. The news media is just all about delivering content they want you to watch. They're just going to make up stories as they need to. But at the end of the day, it ended up not being much of anything. Don't look at the big hysterical events. Focus on fundamentals. Focus on your long-term investing. Don't worry about all this stuff. It's a distraction. It makes you get scared, do some dumb investing things. Just ignore that stuff. 99% of the time, doesn't matter. Now, obviously, there are times when it does matter, like the 2008 credit crunch and all that. Different scenario. Okay, so Banks, she did the research. Brexit, not a big deal right now. And but at the same time, it looks like she can't wait to get home and watch some more Harry Potter. All right, folks, if you have questions for Banks, just go ahead and send us an email. The email's right there on the screen, and she will answer your questions as they come in. And as always, if you have questions about this or any other topic, by all means, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you.
Since 2000, we have seen the market drop to half its value a couple of times. We are now in the second largest bull run of all time. Is the bear poised to strike again? Many are speculating that it is, but we are not going to take that position. The truth is, no one can predict when because they always come unexpected. The key is being positioned to handle it no matter what happens.
By objective, a mutual fund will hold the securities it said that they would hold in the prospectus. For example, a large cap mutual fund is going to hold large company stocks. If the market crashes like it did in 2008, then what does that large cap mutual fund do? Think about it. Will they go to cash?
You will be hard-pressed to find a large cap mutual fund that did not go right down with the market. Don't be caught being passively invested like that. What you want is active management. You want someone managing the downside as well as the upside. Also, don't get caught in the buy and hold trap. You have to remember that in 2008, when the market crashed, it started in December of 2007 and ended in March of 2009. Think about it. That was a 15-month period. Every month, people were getting their statements and they would ask their advisor what they should do.
And what was the mantra? Just hold. It always comes back. Sure it did, almost 4 years after it hit its bottom. We think that is unacceptable. It is also critical to understand what you are paying in fees. It continues to amaze us how little people understand what they are paying.
There are only two ways to grow a portfolio. One is by the interest and dividends being earned by the underlying securities, or what we call yield. And two, by appreciation, the idea that a security will grow in value. If I'm trying to grow to get a 6 or 7% return, and I'm only getting 2% in yield, and I'm paying fees of more than that, then my whole portfolio is relying on speculation. That's where you get volatility. We have all been taught you can't have great reward without taking great risk. It is not true. You can achieve market-like returns without volatility.
We have the tools today to show you how much risk you are taking. We have the tools today to show you how much you are paying in fees. Don't you think you have the right to know? To the first 10 callers, we will perform a risk and fee analysis for you absolutely free. If you had a life-threatening illness and the doctor was prescribing a critical procedure, well, wouldn't you find it appropriate to get a second opinion? You have saved retirement your whole life. Don't you think your life savings deserves a second opinion as well? Again, for the first 10 callers, we will do the risk and fee analysis and we'll show you how to avoid being just passively invested. Give us a call.
All right, this week we have got a great beneficiary blender to share with you, but here's the thing. This kind of stuff that we're going to talk about happens all the time. I mean, all the time. And especially we see it when you encounter a situation where you have maybe someone's been divorced, maybe it's a second marriage, but we even see it in first marriages when you have accounts that have been around a long time. Now, what's really happening here is this. A lot of times people just like you don't clearly understand the priority in which accounts are transferred when you die. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you think, well, I'll just change my will or I'll just change my trust and that's going to take care of everything. Well, my friends, not so fast. I've got a great article to share with you about why that's not necessarily true. All right, the title of this article says, A Spouse's Right to Life Insurance Money. Now, in this article, they are specifically talking about life insurance death benefits. But I want to share something with you. Life insurance, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, 457s, all those accounts, annuities, you name a beneficiary in that account. And that beneficiary designation is top of the line. It rules. It doesn't matter what your will says. It doesn't matter what your trust says. It doesn't matter what you verbally told people or what you've written down. None of that matters. All that matters is, and what we're going to find out, all that matters is what does your beneficiary statement say? That rules everything with one exception, and you want to know the exception. So here the article starts out. I just want to read a little bit of this, not too much. It says, much to your surprise, you find out that someone else is the beneficiary of your spouse's life insurance policy. So in other words, your husband dies or your wife dies, and you're not the beneficiary. I mean, don't you have an automatic right to your spouse's life insurance or 401k or IRA or annuity? Don't you have an automatic right as a spouse? That's what they say. Not so fast. What they say here is, and this is very, very true, they say that you can exclude a spouse. Whoops, got to turn one more page. It says, you can leave the entire death benefit to someone else. The contract owner determines where the money goes. So, or the contract owner of the life insurance, contract owner of the annuity, or the account holder of a 401k or an IRA. Now, what happened is there have been a number of lawsuits about this. Because they gave an example here. They say sometimes an ex-spouse is left on an old life insurance policy. In other words, here's what happens. Warren Hillman, in this example, had a life insurance policy at work. It was worth $124,000. He died at the age of 66, but the beneficiary on that policy was not his wife, Jacqueline Hillman. So what happened was he used to be married to someone named Judy. Judy was the beneficiary on that policy. He died. He never changed beneficiaries. Now his will, his trust, everything said, no, my new wife Jackie gets everything. Who'd the insurance money pay out? Where his will and trust said the money should go, or what the beneficiary said? They paid it out to the beneficiary. Well, they paid it out to Judy. Well, Jackie, not happy, sues. And then lawsuit. Eventually it goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0. 9-0. They don't rule 9-0 on anything. And they said 9-0, money goes to the beneficiary. You know what? There's been another case called Kennedy versus DuPont. Exact same circumstance, except this was a 401k. And again, they ruled 9-0, it goes to the beneficiary. How about that? So here's the thing you want to know. Community property states are a little different. There are some different rules there, and there are 9 community property states in this country. So if you live there, you need to know what those rules are. But generally speaking, check your beneficiary designations. Folks, if you have questions about this or anything else we talk about on the show, please feel free to give us a call.
Have you called us yet to meet with our team? Let us help you with your retirement planning. Today is a great day to take the first step. Call us now at 888-608-5825.
Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner, and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility, how to plan your retirement, the best ways to generate lifetime income, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the difference between retirement advisors and Wall Street advisors, why getting a second opinion may be your most important financial decision, and much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, November 29th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Thursday, December 1st at Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There's no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. My name is John Torbett, and I'm here with my colleagues Art Canfield and Larry Flynn. And we have a number of questions that come up during our meetings throughout the week, and so our thought was we'd just share a few of those with you today. So the first one I'm going to get started with is, Larry, a friend of mine recently invested in an annuity, and I told them that's a bad idea, but I'm not really sure why I don't like annuities. Should I consider them as part of my retirement portfolio?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. I'll tell you honestly, probably 99.9% of the annuities I don't like either that are out there. But let's face it, there's a ton of different kinds. You know, the ones most people think of is what is called immediate annuities, right? The insurance company takes a lump sum, pays it out, and if you die soon, they get to keep the difference, right? So But then you got variable annuities, you got fixed annuities, you got fixed indexed annuities, and they all come with different bells and whistles, right? You got income riders and death benefit guarantees and all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, they're complicated instruments to say the least. So, you know, honestly, if you get involved, they serve a purpose, a great purpose when you agree under certain circumstances, but boy, be very careful, you know, why you're getting into them and what they are. So
yeah, those blanket statements that people make like that, you know, are scary, because there's good and bad out there with almost any investment. Just like if you were in the stock market, you know, this particular stock is bad doesn't make all the stocks in the stock market bad. Just like the annuity world, there's some great winners out there and there's some really poor ones. Just the other day, I was working with a gentleman that he had brought in a list of annuities he had researched on his own and kind of wanted our opinion on it. And it was eye-opening, because these were just all across the board of what they were, what the benefits were. They all had their own nuances. And when we all boiled down at the end of the day, this one-page list, there was one that was probably worth merit.
Sure. And that's the thing that I think sometimes people will look at the annuities and maybe not consider them as basically like a pension plan. I mean, if a lot of times people would have these pension plans where they would get this income for their lifetime, and now those pensions have sort of gone away. So annuities are really nothing more than a pension in certain scenarios, where it provides that lifetime income that obviously is valuable for a lot of folks. So.
Just like all the tools in the tool shed, it's another investment tool. When used properly, it can be a very valuable tool. When used improperly, people are going to be not happy with it.
Right, right.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, here's another question. Art, I'll direct this one to you. It says, I'm tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, but I don't want all of my money sitting in a savings account at the bank. What other options are available?
Boy, that's a question we get almost every day. You know, there's a war on seniors and savers right now. Your traditional fixed investments that people were used to, CDs, savings accounts, just aren't paying anything. People joke about, you know, the cost of the stamp for their statement is more than they're making at the bank, and in some cases it's true. And it's just it's a rough interest rate environment right now. There are alternatives out there. There are places to look, using life insurance, using other investments. There's things that you can do to help bolster that return and still not subject yourself to undue risk where they don't want to go into the market because they're maybe fearful of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really, I mean, you're looking at the banks, you look at the government bonds, you look at, you know, the insurance companies, and then ultimately it's almost forcing people to go out into the market and take on a little bit of risk to try and get a little reward. And it really is this war on seniors and savers.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing. I think people got to be very concerned about it. They're going into the market trying to get growth because they can't get it in the traditional safe investments, and they're taking way more risk on than they probably should.
Yeah.
And you know, they've got to be very wise about how they do that. So.
Right, definitely. Well, good. Well, thank you for tuning in to Coffee Talk, and we look forward to you tuning in again next time.
Thanks everyone for watching the show today. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to call our office or visit our website. And remember, you only retire once, so let's get it right the first time. We'll see you next week.